Start working on this water pump replacement here, and figured I'd make a informative video for you guys. So I'm not gonna do it from start to finish as a whole, because I've got to turn the heater on because it's kind of cold out. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna cover the important parts, and we'll kind of just cut in when I get stuff done here. So first thing I'm doing is, if you look, let me see if I can get a good angle here, basically right underneath this sensor, this is your fluid level sensor for your windshield washer. Right underneath there, you can see where the ratchet goes in. There's a 10 millimeter bolt on this side, and then there should also be one over on this side, which you can't see because the heater hose is in the way. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and remove both of those, and I will bring you back after I remove those and show you what the next step is. So bear with me, I'll be back in a couple minutes. Alrighty guys, I'm over on the driver's side, right next to the battery box underneath the upper radiator hose, and I've got my wrench on there, and once again it's a 10 mil. I've got the other side free, so I'm going to go ahead and loosen this, and we will come back to it, and I'll show you what the next step is. So bear with me. Okay, I'm back over on the passenger side now, and what I'm doing is I'm just going ahead and removing 1, 2, 3 sensor clips. Oops, let me try that again here, show you. I'm sorry, I said they were sensors. They're really not. They're windshield washer pumps. I believe this is front, this is rear, and this is level. So I'm going to go ahead and get these removed. I've already removed this one, and basically what you do is, mine are a little stuck, but you just get in there, put a little pressure on the pin, and then I take another screwdriver, put it underneath there, and pop the whole thing up. So I'm going to go ahead and do these, and then I'll be right back again. Alright guys, I've gone ahead and removed the clips for the 3 different components. I started lifting the unit out. It got a little snagged with this hose right here, but I just disconnected it. This is for the radiator overflow. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to lift it up and move it over to the side, just like that. That way I don't have to disconnect any of those other hoses or anything like that, and it gives me all this room to work on the water pump. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to find my 10 millimeter socket that I dropped, and we'll get back to this. So I'll talk to you guys in a couple. Okay guys, so we're off to the next step. The next step is going to be that I want to remove this fan clutch from this pulley. Now, if I just put a wrench on that, it's going to spin and spin and spin and spin and spin, because there's the belt right there doesn't give enough tension to actually hold everything back. And if you are lucky enough to break it, well, not even break it free, but to spin this, what'll actually happen is you can actually turn your crank, or you can actually just literally just turn your belt. So they make a special tool to do this. Basically it fits into these 2 grooves here, and then you just take the wrench and you put it on there. But what I do is I just take a couple bolts. These happen to be old fender bolts, so they're maybe a grade 3, grade 5, I don't know, nothing real fancy. And I just take a real long extension bar, but you can use up you can pretty much use like a little mini breaker bar, or you know, just a piece of, you know, metal or anything like that. And then I just take a pair of channel locks and I put the channel locks on where they're not going to interfere. And I can't do this, unfortunately I can't do this one-handed, but you got to put your channel locks on, and then you're just going to go ahead and loosen it. So I'm going to do that, and then I'll bring you back. Okay guys, I've gotten this loose now, and if you need, you can go down to your local friendly local auto parts and you can rent the tool. But like I said, if you just got a couple bolts and set it up just like I've got it set up, so your bar is straight up and down, and you can fit your you can probably even use like an adjustable wrench, or you know, like I just used a pair of slip jaws. So and now that's loose, so we're gonna go ahead and take this off. So, and you wanna, I'd say these are probably 1/4 inch diameter bolts. So now when I put this water pump, when I put my new water pump in and everything, I'm actually not going to put this fan back on. And the reason why is that my truck has an auxiliary fan already on it. And I did an experiment late last summer where I ran the truck without the fan on and just worked off the auxiliary fan right here. And I towed like a 10,000 pound excavator going uphill, downhill, and everything like that. And my temperature never jumped. So I'm not even going to bother putting it back on. Plus, I really hate the roar of the damn thing. So so now we've got the front of the engine pretty well exposed. So I can easily get to my water pump now. Okay. I can get to my hoses, everything like that. So the next step is I'm actually going to go ahead and I'm going to drain the system. So let me go get a bucket and I'll be back and I'll show you what we got to do. Alrighty. Okay guys, so after much searching around and a couple of visits from the mother-in-law and a tenant and yada yada yada, gonna get back to this now. So I forgot to turn guys on for the serpentine belt removal. That was pretty easy. Just put a wrench on here, 15 mil I believe, 14 mil, I can't remember, but put that on there, rotate it inward, and just take your belt off. So, and that's a good time to check your belt to see if it's cracked or anything like that. Because if you're going to replace it, now's the time to replace it. So, yeah, so I couldn't find the drain. I have no idea where it is, or even if this one has a drain on it. So it could be one of those. Hold on a second. I don't know. It could be somewhere. Who knows? But I don't really feel like looking for it, nor do I really care about it right now. So what I did was I loosened the clamp, as you can see, and then I gave the hose a little wiggle. And we're going to take this off here. And try not to get too soaked in the process. There we go. And I got a big splash pan underneath. So I'm sure that there is a drain. There's got to be a drain on this. But you know what'll happen, I'll find it after the fact. But yep, so I'm gonna start removing these water pump bolts. That's actually I gotta remove the bypass hose clamp first. So why don't I go ahead and do that, and really trying to avoid taking this whole cast aluminum assembly off. If I have to, I will, but I'm going to try to cheat it where I don't have to. I'm going to replace my bypass hose just because it's good insurance, and the bypass hose is just this. That's all it is. Goes into the block and then comes down. That's what you're actually seeing on the radiator. So that's what you're seeing like that. So for those of you who want to know the part number, it is 71651, and this was Dayco. So unfortunately, it's made in Mexico, but what can you do? So I don't know why this thing isn't focusing now. Come on, focus. Focus. Oh well, doesn't matter. Yeah, you get the point. But that's your part number. So I'm gonna go ahead and start taking these clamps off. And the other thing we gotta do too is we've got this is our heater hose right here. It comes down into this tube here. I gotta go ahead and loosen that, and looking it over, I mean, mine's starting to corrode. I didn't purchase one, and it's late at night, so I'm not even gonna bother with it. But instead of disconnecting it here, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna remove the bolt here and take it out from here, and I should be okay. So yeah, just the least amount of strain on this corrosion part here. Not that it's going to leak or anything like that, but you know, just take care of that for now. So I will tune you guys back in when I get this tube out. The bypass clamp, yep, there it is. Bypass clamp undone, and I'm gonna start actually removing all the water pump bolts too while I'm down there. So and for those of you who want to know, water pump has, I believe it's 6. Two, 4, 6, 7 bolts. So I'm gonna go ahead and do those, and then I'll tune you guys back in just a little bit here. Alrighty. Morning, guys. I kind of called it quits last night. I started getting a little tired. My back started hurting, and got a couple phone calls, so I just decided to pack it in. So it was starting to get kind of cold, so I knew I had today. I knew it was gonna be warmer out, and so got started this morning by, I know I told you I wasn't gonna take this whole bracket assembly off, but I was thinking that relief was a little bit larger than what it is, and I just don't think I'm gonna chance trying to spend 3 hours with trying to get that hose up there. I might, but I just don't see myself doing that right now. So I think I'm gonna just end up taking the bracket off. I had to take the air compressor pump off, which consisted of 1, 2, 3, 4 And then there was a bracket right here that went between these two and came back to this third point up here on the intake. So those were all 1/2 inch. You can get them with a 1/2 inch socket, except for this one right here. If Mopar would have extended this pipe out ever so slightly, you could actually get a socket in here. But I just use a 1/2 inch speed wrench on it, and it comes right off. So now the next thing I'm going to do is, yep, that's how cold it is. A fluorescent light is actually putting off heat. So next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and remove, let's see here, the 2 alternator bolts and this top steady rest. Then I can go ahead and remove the bolts for the actual unit. Now I did take the water pump off. Those are 9/16, and you can get every one of them with the regular 9/16 except for this one right here. See how it's actually a star bit? Back in the day, because this is the same, basically the same water pump as what the old 360s would run. These are called Magnum 360s. The old ones would have been LA water pump, or LA 360s. Basically same exact engine, just different heads. Obviously it's fuel injected rather than carbureted, and serpentine pulley. Now normally you could just get it with all bolts or with all sockets, but you can actually get a I just put a wobble head on there, and I leave this one for the very last one, so that when I'm taking it off, it's not binding up against the underside of the water pump. So it's just, or you can put a, I think it's a I think that's a 45 or a 50. I can't remember off the top of my head. But you can put you can put that in there too, and you can spin it out. That's actually what Mopar has done in later years, as you can see. But they also make the provision where you can put 9/16 on there. So enough about that. So I'm going to have to go ahead and take the rest of this bracketry off, the alternator off. Like I said, I'm going to take this bracket off here, and then I will bring you guys back for the next thing. Oh, and I took the upper radiator hose off just because it was in my way. So yeah, let me get back to it, and I'll clue you guys back in a little bit. One point to make for you guys that I forgot about earlier was that you need to take this idler pulley off in order to get to the very last bolt. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 bolts to hold that on. So let's go ahead and get this last bolt off. And then these are all 9/16, like I said. There is one bolt over here that holds the oil dipstick on. That's a 1/2 inch. You have the top mounts up here. I just simply loosen this one and I take this one out, and that allows me to take my whole aluminum casting right out. Now, if you're to do a thermostat, now's the time to do it, because you can easily get to it. I actually put a new thermostat in here last winter, so I'm not even going to bother with it. Now you can actually see that I've actually got an oil leak here, which will explain where most of my oil goes on my truck. Now I did an intake plenum gasket on this probably 4 or 5 years ago now. Now is a time for me to do it again. because you can see it's leaking, and I've got the whole front end off. So that is the question of the day. Do I want to go ahead and spend the rest of my day doing that? I mean, I've already got the whole front end of the truck apart, so it wouldn't be too much more to go ahead and do that. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to run inside. I'm going to price up, see if I can actually get the parts today. If I can, then I think I might just go ahead and do it since I'm right in here. So I'll go ahead and do that. So let me get back to you guys. Well, after looking at this a little closer, I noticed that some of the bolts were actually loose. So I went ahead and tightened those down, and we'll see if that solves my problem here. It should. So I'm not overly concerned about it. I just don't really want to invest the whole day into putting a whole new intake plenum gasket and all that stuff on here. So you know, it might come to bite me in the butt later on, but you know, it's the decision I'm going to make at the time. And you know, if you come across this situation yourself, and you know, now is definitely the time to go ahead and put this in. So unfortunately, I've only got one vehicle here right now, and I gotta wait for the boss lady to come home. So you know, it just doesn't make any sense for me to sit here and wait. So I'd be down with the vehicle for you know, a whole day. So you know, it's not leaking too bad. Like I said, you know, it does. I now know where my oil leak is from. You know, it doesn't puddle on the ground or anything like that. It's just more of a seeping than anything. So, you know, a lot of you probably aren't going to agree with me, but you know, some of you are going to agree with me. And you know, it's, you know, if I got to do it again, I got to do it again. You know, but you know, this is just a water pump repair. So next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take the bypass hose off, and for that, I'm just going to go ahead and crimp down, move my clamps out, break it free. There it is. So, and I'm pretty sure I've actually replaced this once because it feels pretty solid still. But for the $6.99 worth of insurance, I will replace it. So, and a lot of times, we're gonna put that now. Well, needless to say, I don't remember where I put the new one, but a lot of times you actually have to cut them down a little bit so that they fit in there, because they are a little bit long, and you don't want to put a kink in them. So I'm gonna go ahead and start cleaning up all the gasket material, and then I'll tune back in a little bit here, guys. Guys, getting ready to install the new tube, bypass tube. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to take a little bit of antifreeze, if there's any in there. Just kind of lubricate up the fitting so that the hose slides on a little easier. Okay, so I got that now. The next thing we're going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put the water pump on. And before I go too crazy, I want to get that bypass hose on there just so that it gives me a little extra hand to hold everything. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to fit my gasket in place. So got my gasket right here. No sealant required. It just swells up and seals itself. So once it gets wet, it seals itself just like a thermostat gasket. So if you put any sealant on it, make sure it's a very, very thin coat. Just basically just smear it on, and you know that would be if you'd have like any pits or anything like that in your mating surfaces. I do not, so I'm not going to bother. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and get some bolts in this, and I'll tune you guys back in. Okay, guys, sorry I forgot to tune you back in here. What I've done here is I've taken cleaned up my bolts, my bolt threads mostly. You can buy new ones if you wanted. Mine are fine shape, so I'm not bothering with it. But if you do happen to have one break off into your timing cover from corrosion, you know that you can get new bolts. So I think they're like $12 or something like that at your local auto parts store. I did forget to mention to you that I did cut this down. I cut basically that much of it out. I don't know what I did with the little sleeve of it right at the moment, but you know, as you can see, it's a little bit of a jagged cut there. You can just take a regular razor blade and cut it down. If you have the original bypass hose still on there, use that as a template for your length. You know, if not, what you'll find is if you put the original or you put the new one on, that your water pump will not easily be able to push against the block. So mine is easily pushed against the block. I'm just trying to do it one-handed, which doesn't work too good. But you know, like I said, gasket material, which is I just use a thread sealant compound. So 1, 2, 3, and then the rest are short bolts. Don't forget that you got that oddball bolt up top with the Allen. That's the one that you're going to want to work on first, because you just do everything reverse. You know, this is the last one I took out, so this is the first one I'm going to put in. And then I'm going to go ahead and get this cinched down, and then I'll tune you guys in for the next part. Got the water pump installed, I got the bypass hose installed, clamped, and lower radiator hose installed. Good time to check to make sure that your hose doesn't need any replacing. Easiest way to tell is if you give it a squeeze. If it feels kind of soft and mushy, it's time to replace it. If it feels hard, then you're good. Now they also do have a spring inside of them to keep them from collapsing, because that's the suction side. So what was happening was a lot of the older hoses, when they start getting warm, they would actually collapse down, causing an overheat. So when you're going to test it, just keep in mind that you got a spring in there. But you can pretty much tell if they're good or bad. And if you're in doubt, it's $20, $26 I think it is, down at your local auto parts store. So now's the time to replace it, because everything's open. It's very easy to get to, and your system's dry. So I've gone ahead and put in all my 7 bolts for my water pump. Remember, they're 9/16. I just torque them down to snug with my wrench. I didn't actually put a torque wrench on them. I believe the torque on them, though, is 35 to 45 foot-pounds. Don't quote me. If I can find it in my manual, I'll let you know what it is. But I've just, I've done a number of these over the years, and I just kind of know what works and what doesn't work. So, so now next thing is going to be, I'm going to put that cast aluminum bracket back on. This part right here. So I'm going to just go ahead and do that. Now, it's not a bad idea to go ahead and never seize all of your components. So now I've gone through and I've actually never seized these the last time when I took this intake off, and so I'm not going to bother with it this time. But like I said, it's not a bad idea. An ounce of prevention is a pound of cure, I think they say. So let me go ahead and get this snugged on, and I can bring you guys back in a couple minutes here. So stay with me. All right, just gonna go ahead and snug down these 6 bolts. I've started all of them by hand. Remember, 9/16 these are. So next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to put the AC compressor and the alternator back on, but actually I got to do the alternator first because the AC compressor's hoses are in the way. So let me go ahead and do that. I kind of need both hands for that, so I'll be back in just a moment. I've gone through and put in the alternator upper bolt and lower bolt. Lower bolt, you have to put a 9/16 box end wrench on the back side, and then you can tighten it on the front side. I always get it just set in there, tighten down the top one, and then tighten down the bottom one. Just a little bit easier. You can then go ahead and you can put in your pulley. Okay, so got that in there, it spins. I forgot to put this in before, but yeah, pretty easy to just back this off a couple threads, slide this right in. So next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do the AC compressor. And as you can see, this line is in the way. So what I do is I just put a speed wrench on there, and bear with me, I'm going to set you down and I'll show you how you do it then. Okay, helps when you grab the right size wrench. So, got this there now. Got that set in place. Now I can go ahead and tighten this down. And it's a little awkward to do one-handed, so what I'm going to do here is make sure I'm not sitting on any harnesses or anything like that, which I'm not, so that's a good thing. I'm going to go ahead and put my other bolts in. Okay. And also keep in mind that you got to tighten this down and then tighten this back down. And those are both 9/16. I'll just do it with the wrench here because that's how I loosened it. Just a couple turns. And this here, I did that already. This here just goes up on this. And then that can be tightened down. or it got a little rusty overnight. I don't know what the hell happened here. Must have had it in a bad. So let me soak that one with a little de-ruster, and we'll come back to that one in a little bit here, so it's no big deal. I can wait anyways. So let's see here, where was I going to go now? What do I need to do? Oh, train of thought. I got to do these here. So, and before we forget, I was goofed up. Got to put this bracket back on. So these actually don't get tightened down right away. Get this hose out of the way again. Where this is where they're supposed to be, get the throttle cable where it's supposed to be. So there, so that's that, and then this little nut here, old bolt I should say, goes right here, which you guys can't really see. Okay, so let me get all set up with ½ inch here, and go ahead and start tightening these all down here. So I'll just, whoops. Helps if you have it in the right direction. Okay. Now the last thing we gotta do is just tighten this one down. So I'm gonna go ahead and do this off camera because I need to put my finger on top to give it a little resistance. So I'll be right back. Okay, now we got some resistance going. Okay, so that's that. Now, next thing I can do is I can go ahead and let's see, I'll put my upper radiator hose on just so that part's done. Get that clamped in there. If you're wondering how to replace this, I believe I have an earlier video on it. I'll put a link in the description if I remember. So, and you can buy this actually right from your auto parts store. Originally, it came as a big assembly, and then I don't remember. It's like $100 or something like that for it. But the thing was that this was the part that always went, was this plastic piece right here. So when you bought the new one, it came with the spring clamps, and then you just had to cut your old plastic bands. And this plastic is just, it gets absolutely brittle. So you know, you can just snap those off pretty much. Literally, that's all I did, is I just took a pair of pliers and just crimped on both sides, broke those bands off, and then put the new assembly in there, and I was good to go because my hoses were still good. So I'm like, well, I'm not going to buy a whole $100 assembly if I only need a $10 part. And that's literally all it was I think $10 or $15. So so enough rambling on about that. Let's get back to the task at hand here. Next thing I'm going to go ahead and do is put my clamp on over there. Then let's see here. Then I can start actually putting this whole big assembly back in place and bolting that down. So let me go ahead and get this clamp on, and let me start getting the the shroud maneuvered into place. I was just thinking here, guys, next thing I'm going to do is before I put that whole shroud on there, I'm going to go ahead and put my Serpentine on there. This will also be a prime time to put your fan belt or your fan clutch back on. Like I said earlier, I'm not putting mine back on because I've got the auxiliary, and my auxiliary does just a fine job of keeping my engine cool even during towing and everything. So, plus that's a little bit of a gas saver. Not much, but a little bit. And every little bit helps with these 5.9s. So, let me go ahead and start getting the belt routed, and then I'll bring you guys back. Okay, next thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead. I've got everything routed. I'm just going to put my 5/8 inch wrench on. Ouch. Try this again. Come on. Up. Oh, that's right. Ah! It's not standard, it's metric. Hold on, let me go get a 15 mil. Okay, sorry about that, guys. It was 15 mil, not 5/8. That's embarrassing. So, you get so used to doing everything standard that you forget about the metric. So, let me go ahead and loosen this, set you down for a moment, and get that lined up. I don't know if I can get you set down here where you can see, probably not. So just looped it down around the bottom and take my tension off, and there we go. So now, if you look here, my tension is still within the marks. So I've got a lower mark here and an upper mark here. So this is a brand new tensioner and a brand new belt. And I'll tell you what, I think that tensioner's already garbage. But my belt was squealing pretty good. But now that could have been the water pump itself dripping onto the belt. So we'll have to see here. So we'll give it a couple days and see what happens here. So now, next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to swing my overflow bucket and upper radiator shroud over. Okay, get that in place there. Get it in place on this side. There it is there. And there it is there. Don't forget to hook up the famous bypass hose. Or overflow hose. Why am I thinking bypass hose? Woo! We're already way past that part. So now next thing I gotta do is I gotta put those two little small 10 millimeter bolts in. Now I have my magnet right here. So that's going to help me guide them in so that they're not going to fall off. So I'm not going to bring you along for that because I just don't have enough hands for that. But I'll show you what the end result is. Okay, there's that side. Alright, let's see if we can do this side here. Alright guys, I'm going to have to set you down because my hand is cramped and I need to get the air ratchet, so. That's all I need. Alright. So we got that out of there now. Okay, get my blowgun out of here. We don't need the water pump anymore. Next thing's next, we gotta hook up the connections here. What's going on with that? Snap that back in place. And okay, that's good. That's glad that broke off like that. Yeah, whatever. So, I don't know what happened there, why that broke off, but it is what it is. So next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get the tools off top of the truck here. Then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go and hook this back up. That was my AC, so I have AC in the summer. And I'm not going to be complaining. Let me see if see if this is going to tighten down now. I'm going to soak it one more time. And then I'm going to take a walk up to the house and grab the antifreeze and grab an extra jug of water, and then I'll be back down. Guys, here's what I've been doing now. I've been filling the radiator up with antifreeze, and now I've just got my funnel on here so that the funnel is acting as the highest point in the system, whereas that little hump in the line was the highest point in the system otherwise. So we're just going to let it run for a little bit here and wait for the thermostat to open up. And one thing you want to do is you want to go ahead and you want to open up your heating valve. So what I want to do is I want to have it on heat, both sides. You don't necessarily need the blower on. If you want to have the blower on, you can. And then since I've got dual zone in mine, I've actually got to turn the rear heat on. So I've got my rear controls in the truck set up for heat, and I've just got the rear blower on. I don't have the front blower on, so. Alright, so as you can see, still getting bubbles coming out. And I'm also going to be looking around to see if I have any leaks. It's kind of hard for me to tell right now because, of course, it's raining. So, you know, but keep an eye on it over the next couple days. Make sure it's not leaking at all. So. My overflow is empty, and you can put water in there. It's okay, because what will happen is the system will be literally burping itself, and there's a little bit of antifreeze down the bottom I can see. So now you don't want to rev it or anything like that. You just want to let it do its own little thing. I've learned that if you rev it, you end up with a lot more air getting into the system, and air is not what you want. So, but if you actually look down there, I don't know if I can get the light good enough or not. Hard to get the light just right. Yeah, I'm not gonna be able to get it just right for you, but you can actually see the green. Now my thermostat just opened. So I'm going to keep continuing to do this, and when it's all done, we'll be done. So I'll tune you guys back in a few minutes once this thing stops bubbling, and we'll call this a wrap. Hey guys, well, this is the final part of this little series here. Taking it for a little test drive, and my temperature is just fine. It's actually, it's probably just a little bit lower than what it normally would be, but we'll see. But my Serpentine belt's starting to squeal again, so yippee yippee. So I'm going to be calling this a success. I'll probably be making a video for the idler tensioner. If anybody's interested in getting a video on it, let me know, and I'll be happy to make one. So until later, guys. All right, bye-bye.